Hey guys, oh my gosh. Um wow. I feel like it hasn't been long. It really hasn't. But I just love talking to you guys. I talk to myself so much, and that's really why I started doing this because it kind of gives it a purpose. But when I lived alone for a long time, I would literally just talk to my phone and like vlog it because I thought I would post it, but I never did, and I just did this for years and did nothing with the videos. Now I just have them and I like to watch them because I like to watch myself like recover from like psychosis is what it looks like. But um wow, yeah, I feel like I have so much to talk about today. And maybe I don't. Maybe the second I turn on the camera, I don't have anything to say. But I had to drop off my boyfriend this morning. I'm never up this early. Never, because I work the night shift, and that's what I like. Like, I think for the rest of my years, maybe I'll have an office job one day or something like that. But for the time being, I like to work starting at like 4 or 5, because the idea of getting up at 7 a.m. every single morning, you'd think like after 12 years of doing it in school, like you'd get used to it, but never have I ever been good at waking up early, except for maybe 2 times in my life for a period of about 3 months. But I had to wake up early to go drop off my boyfriend today because he's going to Vegas. And guys, I hate being away from my boyfriend. Duh. Like, that's like kind of comes with a relationship. Like, you just want to be with your partner all the time. But he's moving in pretty soon. After he gets back from this trip, he's going to be gone for a month or something, and we're going to be long distance. And how we started dating long distance. I don't think, not exactly, but a lot of our relationship, I actually mapped it out because I saw this little whatever trend on TikTok, and I wanted to see what our timeline was of like from the moment we started talking to now, which was 5 years ago going on 6. And we have like, it's been the same exact amount of months that we have been talking that we've been separated. So like split the days in half. Um what would that be? Like 36. What's 12 times 5? 62? 60. Who knows? I don't know. 58, 62. So we've been talking for 31 months and haven't spoke to each other for 31 months. But anyways, one point in time he was in Arizona, I was in Greece, and we were together before that. And when we left, I was like, okay, well, we're splitting up again, so sad. But then that ended up not happening. And when I first went to Greece, we weren't really talking a bunch, but then by the end, we were like FaceTiming every single day. And then he came out there and saw me, and then we started dating, right? But so we know how to do long distance. Like, we didn't form our entire relationship on long distance because we've known each other for so long. But that was also like, that's a very fragile time in your relationship. Like, imagine you're in a situationship with somebody and then you move apart, and then as soon as you come back together, you start dating. Like, that's what it was. So I have faith. Like, I know that we're going to be fine doing long distance, but now it's to the point where we are in our relationship so heavily that I don't want to be separated from him. And I used to think when I was single that I'd love a long distance relationship because I just love being by myself so much, and I do. But man, guys, I'm on my period right now, and maybe it's because I have a boyfriend, but my periods have never been worse. Like, the past few months, they have just been the most treacherous times in my life, and I have been to the point of like, I never really call out for work, but I have been like, we need to get paid menstrual leave because there's no way I'm dealing with this and having to go to work. Like, there's just no possible way, because the first day of my period, the past 3 months, I have been not able to get out from my bed because, like, so much TMA right now, but I don't care. first of all, bleeding so heavily, like it's actually insane. Maybe there's just something wrong with me, but, and then so much pain. Like I've never had worse cramps. I was on my way, last week I talked about this. I was on my way to book club and I freaking thought I was going to pass out because my cramps were so bad. Anyways, and then the emotional whatever, yeah, something's wrong. But I need to get my health in check, whatever. I don't stop crying. I don't stop crying. And I'm not, actually, I am a really big crier. I also think that's something that's happened in this relationship. I will get to it because it's not a negative aspect, but I haven't cried. Like, before I got with this guy, I hadn't cried for like a year. Now, the first day of my period, I sob. He was hanging out with his friends one night, and usually he, like, every single night we lived together, but he was sleeping over at somebody else's. I stayed up till 8 a.m. watching cat and dog videos and bawling my eyes out. And then, yeah, that was the night before Christmas or Christmas Eve or something. Not good. But yeah, I've just been like a wreck. And what I've noticed is, especially on my period, he's like my emotional stability, because even last night, like I think since I work so much, I was looking at my screen time, and on the days that I work, my screen time is like 1 hour. And then the first day that I had off, my screen time shot up to 10 hours. I mean, I stayed up till 8 a.m. watching cat and dog videos. But I think as soon as I have a little bit of freedom, I like to just like exploit my freaking ability to scroll. And I have a bunch of sleep problems, and I'm going to get to that in a second too, because I think because my schedule's so packed all the time, and it's not even that crazy compared to like high school me. I always had something to do, and now I just work, but I work a lot, but whatever. But as soon as I have a little moment of free time, like the first day that I have off, I always scroll. And one thing about my boyfriend is that he hates being on his phone so much. So, like last night, I was on TikTok and he was like, "No, get off your phone, hang out with me. We're talking." And then as soon as I get off my phone, we say one word, and then we're both like closing our eyes and like ready to go to bed. But that's to be predicted. Like he always is like, "Okay, let's hang out." And then we're laying in bed to hang out, and then we end up closing our eyes and we want to go to bed. But I think it's so weird because he is somehow insanely consistent and like predictable, but also so unpredictable. I don't understand it, because I mean, it's in different ways, I guess, but when it comes to like me being emotional and me being all over the place, he keeps me in check. And that's something I really appreciate about him, especially on like my period, because that first day I need him to be with me, to baby me, to help me, and to heal me. And I think the last 2 months I haven't had him on the first day of my period, and it's been a wreck. But anyways, so he's leaving, and I'm not too worried. I'm a little worried. I'm not worried, because like I'm my own person. I can take care of myself. I've been single before, and it's not like I'm going to be single. I'm still going to have him, but I love being alone, but being in a relationship with somebody who's good for you is really easy. Like I've noticed we got in one really really bad fight when we came back from Europe, and we didn't see each other for like 4 days cuz I needed time to think and whatever. And over those 4 days, my life was just like so bland and boring, and I really wasn't even thinking about our relationship, and it wasn't hurting me because I was like, okay, we could break up and we could stay together, and it was like that point, that type of whatever. And I wasn't feeling any pain towards it, or like I wasn't feeling scared or sad or angry. I was just like bleh. And then maybe that's just like a response. That was my genuine response to it. But I think I was just trying to live my life day to day. And I was like, okay, this is what it's going to be like without Jack. And it was just so boring. And not that my life's boring. My life is not boring alone. But I think that a trait that he gives me, not a trait, but he just gives me energy. He gives me life. He breathes. Like, he is such a energetic puppy dog, sunshine, whatever. Like, if two people were golden retriever and black cat, it could not be more perfect, me and my boyfriend. But he just, like, he makes me feel uplifted. Anyways, but I was thinking about on my drive from there to here because I've been so grateful for him the past few days. I could cry right now because I'm still on my period, but whatever. Um, but one thing that I really, really struggle with in our relationship is trying to figure out if we are toxic or not, because I came out of a really, really toxic relationship a few years ago, and I never thought that I would get back into a relationship. Like, I honestly thought I was done dating forever. And even during my breakup, I wasn't in a relationship for a year and a half, something like that. I didn't talk to a single guy. I mean, I did. I almost went on one date, and then I was like, you got pulled over on the way here. That's why you're going to be late. No thanks. I'm not doing that. Um, and I just could not bother to be around men. Like, I genuinely couldn't stand it. And so I was spending a lot of time with my family, with myself, with my friends. And I loved my life like that. Like, I love being single. And I do not think that I would be in a relationship if it wasn't for, like, the universe literally forcing us together. Because I don't know if I've told you guys the story. I don't think I'll get into it today. You know what? I'll tell you guys the story. So, me and my boyfriend have known each other for 5 years, right? We met through our best friend, his best friend. His best friend and my best friend were, like, kind of Snapchatting, whatever. And we got invited to a party, and the guy that my friend was Snapchatting was there. And whenever me and my friend would party, it was like me and her were like this, and then the rest of the people didn't matter. We would sing musicals, take shots together, whatever. It was just us. And then since he was there, she was, like, kind of flirting with him, and we were going into our sophomore year of high school. Like, we never really had boys around, so I was like, what the freak? Why it is, like, there's a boy here and you're not hanging out with me? Rude. I want somebody. And so I ended up bullying this guy into being like, you can have my friend, but, like, I need a guy. And so he was like, hey, let me FaceTime my friend Jack. You can have Jack, and I'm gonna hang out with Cadence. And I was like, okay. So I FaceTimed his friend Jack, my boyfriend, and I was really, really drunk at this time. We FaceTimed. That was it. That's how we met. And then since that day, we ended up, like, hanging out a bunch, and it was me, this group of four. So me and my best friend, and then Jack and his best friend. We were like this. We were, like, it was the funnest time of my life, honestly, because he lived, like, 5 minutes down the road from me. My best friend was living with me. Jack was living with Caden. And it was just like, if you've ever been in a situation like that, it's so fun. Especially, like, sophomore year of high school, we were just goofing around all the time and whatever. It was so fun. But me and Cadence, my best friend, she and I did not really like the guys in a romantic way. And they really, really liked us. Like, they wanted to go to girlfriend, boyfriend status. And me and her had never had boyfriends. And we were also very, very scared of that, especially her. Like, she'd never kissed anybody, never wanted to. And we kind of just, like, we loved being friends with them. But whenever they tried to do something romantic, we would get the ick. And they were great guys. They were really, really sweet. We had so much fun with them. Like, they were our best friends, but we didn't want anything more than that. And they obviously did. And so it got to a point where it was like, we're leading them on and we're hurting them because they think that maybe one day we'll be their girlfriends, but we really don't want anything more than what we have right now. And so we ended up ending it, both of us, because they were our friends. Like, we really, really loved them and cared about them, but we didn't want to hurt them anymore by not getting into a relationship with them. And so on the night that Jack was going to ask me to be his girlfriend, this was like 5 months after we met, December 2021 or 2020, no, 2021. He was going to ask me to be his girlfriend, and that was the night that I planned to break up with him. I didn't know he was going to ask me to be his girlfriend, but yeah. But then it's a really, really small town, and all my other friends were still friends with them. So we would still see them at parties and stuff. We'd still end up hanging out. But I ended up talking to a different guy. He was talking to another girl. Actually, this guy's like girl best friend that I was talking to make me jealous. And so we were both he was with a girl that he didn't like. I was with a guy that I really, really liked at the time. But then I also had Cadence never really felt that way about Caden. Never. They were nothing more than friends. But me and Jack had a more complicated relationship, and we always with me, I was so rude. I was so toxic to him, and I felt so bad. But I would love him one day, and the next, I wouldn't want to speak to him for a week. And I don't know why, because everyone around me, all my friends, all my family, knew how perfect Jack was for me. Like, we were just perfect for each other, honestly. And everyone knew it. And it got to a point where I was like, okay, I really like this one guy that I'm talking to, and I really, really like Jack. But sometimes I don't like Jack, and I like this guy all the time. And so it was a love triangle for a while. But most of the time, it wasn't like I was dating two guys at a time. I was always hanging out with Jack as a friend, but I knew he loved me. And I knew, like, sometimes I loved him like that. And we had a past of, like, being together like that. But we never really crossed a line. Anyways, I don't know. It was really, really weird. So for a while, it was this love triangle. And then I ended up choosing the other guy. And then that Jack left for military school voluntarily, literally the night after this guy asked me out. So I'm pretty sure he went because of me, even though he won't admit it, but whatever. But then me and this guy are dating, and I ended up writing Jack letters while he was in military school, and we talked that way. But then Jack got a girlfriend when he came back, and it was a long period, 4 or 5 years of us talking all the time and then not talking for like 6 months, because we knew that we loved each other a lot. And a lot of times we'd end up, there was even this instance I was reading in my journal the other day where we FaceTimed for like 8 hours every single day for 2 or 3 days. And then we didn't talk to each other for 6 months before or 6 months after. And in that time we were like, I love you so much. Maybe one day when we're 18, maybe we were 16 at the time. Maybe one day in the future, like, things will work out between us, but right now they're just not meant to be. And I still had those feelings of like, I love him and I know he's perfect for me because he was so good to me when we were teenagers. And we just had so much fun together. Like, we truly were best friends, and I got along with him so well, and I knew him so well, and he knew me so well. And the problem was with this other guy, I didn't know him. Like, I thought I knew him, but it was so odd because we were dating for 6 months at this point, and I felt like I still didn't know who he was, and I still felt like we weren't connected. And I think a part of it was like, I let it slide because I was a shy person naturally, and so I was like, okay, we just haven't bonded to that point yet. But that bond never came. Like, it was just an illusion. I thought I knew him. And the thing with Jack is that we truly knew each other. I knew him inside and out. And so I knew the bad parts of him that I didn't like. I knew the things I didn't like. And with the other guy, I didn't see a single thing wrong with him because I didn't know him. And so I idealized him in my head to be this perfect person. In the end, I ended up finding out who he really was, who was a piece of trash. And Jack is, he's freaking Jack. Anyways, this goes on for years of like, we'll talk for a little bit and then we stop talking because we're in relationships. Like, what's the point if we know that we love each other, but it's like, we're not going to be in a relationship. We don't actually want to date right now. Like, we love the people that we're with, but we can't be just friends. We know that. And whatever. But everyone around me still there was like a team Jack, team other guy for a long time. Everyone that I knew was team Jack because they knew how great we were for each other. Then me and this guy break up, and me and Jack are still like, it would always end up, it was so weird because we would not talk for 4 months or something like that. And we didn't follow each other on social media or anything. We usually had each other blocked on a lot of things because we were in relationships. And then out of the blue, I'd be like, I really want to speak to Jack right now. Like, I really want to call him. And then the next day, he'd end up calling me randomly. And we never talked like that. Like, it was so bizarre. But I just get this feeling like I needed to talk to him, and he'd always get the same feeling and whatever. Anyways, last fall, not this past fall, but like last fall, Caden ended up passing away. And at this point, me and Jack were both out of our relationships. We'd had a little fling in the summertime, but I remember coming into September, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do it. Because it was still that thing of like, I love him so much, and then I don't. And it was like the situationship of all situationships. And I just knew that I couldn't keep doing that to him and to myself. And so I planned to like really break it off this time. Like, really, I was done, because obviously nothing was going to come from it. I'd been single for a year and a half. I didn't think like if we were going to end up dating, we probably would have already started already. So we had our fling in the summer, and then he called me the night before Caden passed to hang out, and I ignored his call because I was like, okay, no, I'm done. And then he called me again the next day, and I didn't pick up, and I was at work. And then he texted me, and he was like, I have really something really important to tell you. Like, please answer the phone. And he was like, Caden passed away. Remember, this is the guy how we met. And Caden was a really, really, really good friend to me, and we were close, really close for a short amount of time, and we'd never really kept in touch, but he's always been like, he was one of the sweetest kids ever. And more importantly, he was Jack's best friend. And I knew what Caden meant to Jack. And so it was almost like I felt like I had a responsibility and a duty to stay by him, because in this entire thing, like these past 5 years of us getting together and breaking off, it was always usually me who was the one who was breaking it off and being like, okay, see you in 3 months or something. See you in 6 months, maybe. Because I wasn't sure about my feelings for him. I never was. But this time I was like, I am staying with you because I'm not going to leave you alone. Like, I'm not going to leave you alone in this hard time. And then it ended up like, I think I was always able to run away. And because I wasn't able to run away this time, I kind of saw all of his like flaws that I already knew existed didn't look like flaws anymore to me. And all the toxic traits that I thought he had, I realized they weren't toxic. They were healthy, but they were something that I was scared of facing. And I think the reason why I got so repulsed by Jack so many times is because he was going to teach me things that I didn't want to learn. And I think especially when it comes to love, I just wasn't ready to face a lot of the things that he was going to have to put me through. Not like he intentionally put me through, but like accepting the love that you deserve is hard. And he was such a consistent guy in his love for me, and that scared me. Because from the moment that we knew each other, I knew that he loved me. And even though he had other girlfriends, I still was like, but that guy loves me, and I know that for sure. And that was something that icked me out. The fact that he'd always loved me icked me out. And other things like that, where it's like, I just went through the first few months of us being together. I was like, this hurts so bad, because now I realize even more how troubling my old relationship was because of how you're treating me. Anyways, so that's how we met. We ended up dating after that because we just never separated, even though I went to Greece and he went to Arizona. But now that's what I struggle with the most in our relationship is still, I don't want to be in a toxic relationship. Nobody wants to be in a toxic relationship, but, or at least consciously, subconsciously maybe, but I really analyze our relationship, and especially in the first like month that we were actually together, I was so scared and I was over analyzing everything because I didn't want to be blindsided to toxicity, because that's what happened to me before. You know, I thought that like this was the perfect relationship. This was the most amazing, healthy, like magical relationship in the entire world. And then suddenly I get hit in the head and I'm come back to reality, and really I've been manipulated and gaslighted, and my life had been ruined before my eyes, but I hadn't even realized it. And then I got out of my relationship and I was like, okay, I don't know myself. I don't have control over my life, and you've ruined so much for me. And I couldn't even stop it because I didn't see it, because I was so in love with you. And I would never think that you would do those things to me, you know? And so now that's my biggest fear. Like, I never wanted to be in a relationship, right? But I feel like the universe didn't force me, but it gave me this relationship against my will. That hair clip was bothering me. But so yes. So I'm fearful that my relationship is toxic. And I think that that's normal, maybe a little bit, because obviously you don't want your relationship to be toxic. And I think that you need evaluation in your relationships, because you need to not only check in with your partner to be like, hey, how do you think this is going? Like, do you think we're doing okay? What do you think we need to work on? What don't you like? What do you like? But you also need to check in with yourself and be, am I being treated how I want to be treated? Do I like how this relationship affects my life? Do I think it's mostly positive? Do I think it's mostly negative? And I think my biggest toxic trait in this relationship is that I'm so fearful of toxicity that I think I let it take over my mind a little bit. Like, as soon as I see something in Jack that I see him do, I think of it in the long term, and I'm like, okay, this could be life-threatening, relationship-altering if it doesn't change. And I think I take it from level 1 to 100 in a matter of seconds, because I'm scared of it becoming something bigger. Like, for example, in a fight, if I say something, how I'm feeling, and he doesn't automatically be like, I'm sorry, I didn't know that you felt like that. Like, what can I do to make it better? Which would be a healthy response to me saying something that hurts. If he kind of disregards it and he's like, well, this is what you did to make me act that way, or this is how I feel, and it turns into a fight instead of him hearing me out, I'm like, immediately, okay, so you don't take accountability, you don't care about my feelings, and you just care about winning an argument, and you just, like, you don't want to take any blame for the problem, and I wouldn't be bringing it up unless you're doing it. So, which obviously that is a big issue. Like, if somebody's not recognizing that you are hurting, and if they're not willing to, like, apologize, if they're not really willing to recognize that their actions are affecting you or hurting you, that is toxic. But I think that as humans, immediately, sometimes we do have a defense mechanism and we put our guard up and we're like, whoa, well, this is what you're doing, and it always takes time, because I think that's something that he needs to work on, but it takes time for both of us to get to a, like, okay, I'm sorry I'm doing this. I'm also sorry I'm doing this. And this is how I feel. And I'm sorry that I made you feel that way. But we always get there And I think that's the important thing that we need to realize. But I immediately, in a fight like that, I'm like, okay, he's never going to recognize my pain. I'm never going to feel heard. I'm never going to feel understood in this relationship. That's not true. Those are things that you can work on as a couple. And I think that like my fear of things being toxic is the second that I notice even something a little toxic, nobody is completely clean. Like everybody's got a little toxic in them. Everyone has a past trauma that they hold with them. Like not everyone is the perfect human being. The chances of you finding a completely healed, emotionally intelligent person is so slim. Like I think that I reflect and try to work on myself. I am so toxic. Like I am. But and I think I'm also very healthy in some aspects, but like finding a completely perfect person, just it doesn't happen. But a lot of times I'm like, okay, is this going to be worth it to put up with in the long run? And I think in a way I'm also sabotaging the fact that like I'm sabotaging the relationship by over protecting it to make sure it's not toxic, if that makes sense. Anyway, but really, he's leaving or he already left, and I have just been so grateful that I have a a person like that, and I feel like it's hard for me to accept that it is healthy, and a part of me doesn't even want to accept that it is healthy because that's scary. I think to kind of know like, oh yeah, this is a little toxic and it's probably going to end is a safety blanket that I have just in case it does really end. Is it's like, okay, well, I wasn't completely blindsided in love. I didn't give everything I ever had into this relationship because, and so now I have less to lose. And I think relationships that are for the long term, you have to give your all. And it's not that I'm saying like you have to give up your entire life and who you are and who you're being to like give yourself over to this person, but you have to believe in it 100%. You have to trust them 100%. And I'm still like, that's something that I struggle with for sure. But I think accepting the fact that like for so long I've been in this relationship and I have been like, okay, well, these are some toxic things, and so it's probably going to end right someday because of these things. And that's okay. It's not going to be today, but I'm sure it'll end someday. That keeps me sane because then I know that it's like, okay, I'm not going to just be 100% believing in this for it to not work out. When in reality, if I want it to be a healthy relationship, I have to be like, yes, there are things that could potentially end this relationship if we don't work through them, but I think that we're a strong enough couple to work through them to be happy and stay together. And I think it's this process of like, keep in mind, me and him have only been dating for 6 months. And if we just started dating 6 months ago, I'd never be saying things like this. But I think because of our story that I just told you guys, it kind of makes a little more sense for me to be thinking like this. But also compare it to like the last relationship. 6 months in, I still felt like I didn't even know the person, you know? And I don't know. So that's one thing that I've been working on recently is getting over fears of toxicity. Also, okay, I'm kind of bored of this topic, so let's change to another subject. Merry Christmas yesterday. Have you guys ever watched Midnight in Paris? It is the cutest. It's one of my favorite movies that I've been watching in 2025. I don't know when it came out, but it has that one guy from Marley and Me, and then um what she's one of my favorite actresses ever, but I can't remember her name. She's in Mean Girls, she was Regina George, and then she's in like wait, yeah. And then she was in The Notebook too. What's her name? Whatever, but it's a really cute movie. And basically he's obsessed with the past, and his dream is to live in New York in the 20s in the rain. And he's writing this book about a nostalgia shop and whatever. And like the theme of the story is like you have to be rooted in the present because everybody wants to be from a different time. Like everyone idealizes things that they don't actually live through. So, I mean, everything that you want is idealized, but then you really get it and it's like, oh, of course there's imperfections. Like you just have to be happy with what you have. But I've been really hating the timeline that we're in right now. Like I don't know who is in control of the simulation. I don't know why our world like this, and I talked about this last week too, but dang. I think with Christmas too, it's making me realize it like tenfold. I just have been like in confliction with my life because for one, I'm doing this. Like I'm talking to you guys on my phone and I love YouTube. Like I love doing this. And then in my ideal world, I'm like, okay, maybe one day I'll be an influencer. Maybe one day I'll like get to post and like just do this and live my life and pay my rent. And that would be so fun. Because I don't want to clock in every day. Like, I don't. I'd rather sit here and then edit in my room and like chill and have a cool conversation with myself and then like whatever. But on the other hand, I hate social media. I hate it. I love posting on it. I hate it though. I like I just that night when I scrolled on TikTok for 8 hours, so unnecessary. My screen time was up 10 hours that day. Every other day it's been 1 hour, 2 hours. And I just like there's so many things about this timeline, this time, this day and age, this generation that I find cringe, and I've already talked about this, but it's like dating apps, posting every second of our lives and like trying to live aesthetically drives me nuts. But then also I contribute to it. I follow it, you know? It's freezing, so I'm gonna warm up for a second and I'll get back to you guys. Oh my gosh, guys, I just found out that I can click this button and like start the video. That's so cool. Anyways, I just had a photo shoot for a second because I had to remind myself of what I was actually trying to talk about. But okay. So the other night when I did stay awake. Okay, this is kind of a ritual act of rebellion that I do that drives me nuts because after a long week, I usually end up doing this where my first day off, that first like night, I just rot. Like I try to be productive on my days off, but in the nighttime when I don't have the energy to do anything else, I usually stay up really, really late and scroll TikTok or whatever because I want to feel like, hold on. I don't know if I want to feel like anything, but this is something that I saw maybe a few months ago or something, that people who have not a lot of control in their schedule in the daytime tend to stay awake very, very late at night. And the longer, like, the more that I do this, the more I know that that's true because that's like, it's almost rebellion. It's a rebellion against myself, I guess, because it's one choice that I can make and like can be reckless with, you know? And when I stayed up, I watched my TikTok and then I got off because I was bored, but I wanted to go to bed, but I couldn't sleep. And I was just staying awake, and I think at night every single night, this job, I love my job, but I also think it could not be worse for me and for my mental health because I will stay awake and it's just like every interaction I had at work runs through my head. And I don't even know that I like really care about them, but I obviously do because I think like the most horrible things about myself when I have to, like at night, I can ignore it all day. I can ignore it with my phone, when I'm hanging out with my boyfriend, when I'm watching a movie. But when I lay my phone down and I close my eyes, there is nothing else that I can think about. I just think about work and I think about the interactions that I had and the mistakes that I made and how I'm going to have to go back again and what I'm going to have to face the next time I go. And it drives me nuts. And so I think a lot of it is like I go on my phone until I fall asleep because it's a distraction. But the longer that I laid there, I ended up like staying awake for a pretty long time and just thinking about my life because I'm able to not think about my life day to day. And I think that's something that's really interesting to me is that in high school, I was never a procrastinator. I always got all my work done. I got really, really good grades. And I feel like I didn't leave anything undone, unless it was like my closet that I needed to organize or whatever. But now that I'm an adult, I have more things that I obviously have to get done, like doctor's appointments, and I have to look into my student loans, and I have to switch my bank, and I have to all this crap. And on top of that, I have to plan my future, okay? Because I have big plans for my future, but I think the problem is, and I think that the reason why a lot of people end up like settling down into their lives without even realizing it is because it is a struggle to actively and consciously participate in your own life. I think a lot of people become NPCs in their own lives, especially like you'll talk to somebody who's like 50 years old who's been working the same job since they were 18 and they live in the same town that they grew up in and they're scared to like travel across the world. It's because choices that are made safely and often, like why would you deter from that when it's kept you alive, right? And it's stressful and it's scary to think of other things. And I do not want to be, there's a word that I'm looking for. Ugh. I don't want to be complacent in my own life. That's not the word, but whatever. But I have been for a really, really long time because I'm already like from day to day, going to work, taking care of myself, brushing my teeth, whatever. It seems like it feels like it's already enough. Like that's all I want to deal with. I don't want to have to think about other things, other stressful things. I don't want to have to get things done. And I think when I first got out of high school, I remember thinking about my parents and I was like, I don't understand why they didn't do this, and this when it would make their lives so much easier. Now, as an adult, I understand because I don't want to go out of my way to like look into this for hours. That's exhausting. Why would I try and sign up for this? And so it makes sense why they're doing like things that don't really benefit us because that was the easy way. They didn't have to go out of their way to do anything like crazy. They just had to do the simple things. And it can be really, really tiring to think like it's important to like have goals and whatever. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. But I think I've been putting off a lot of things in my life and it's really weird and new to me because usually I don't do that. And I think because I was such a high achiever, I remember this burnout that I went through that I'd never experienced in my life. And I think my freshman year of college, I was like, okay, 4 years, like it's not going to be that hard. I know what I have to do and I've done it for 12 years. Like I can really do this. And I was so on top of all my work for so long and like on top of my life for so long. But everything else, slowly things started to crash and burn. The more things that I had to do that built up that I never did, just like they're in the back of my head and I can feel the pressure and the weight of everything. And it's like, okay, just put on your jeans and go do what you have to do. Like it's not that hard. But then there's also like the broader spectrum of, okay, I need to think about what I actually want to do with my life, who I actually want to be, what I want to invest my time and energy into. But I have to go to work tonight and I don't want to be tired, so I'm going to take a nap right now, or I'm going to read my book so that I can just like be relaxed and make my money, and then I'll think about it another time when I actually have time to think. And that's been something that me and my sister have been struggling with this past few months, because we want to go and do something big after she graduates high school. Like, we are trying to do this together. Her schedule is crazy. My schedule is kind of crazy. And when we come together to like decide what we want to do, we're starting at a blank slate every single time because we don't have time to think. And I think like I've been having, it wasn't just that night, but I've been having trouble sleeping. And I think it's because like the pressure of life, I guess, has just been like built up, and the nighttime is the only time that I allow myself to think about it, or when I'm forced to think about it because I can't do anything else. And so I lay awake and I'm like, okay, here's my checklist of 1,000 things that I need to get done that I should have done years ago. And here are my goals for what I need to do in this next year that I haven't even started towards, you know? And anyway, I feel like at least once in every single one of these episodes, I just love to rant, and I think that's fine, honestly. But being 20 sucks. I wish somebody would have told me that. Like, I have been so excited, and I'm turning 21 in a month. My boyfriend just turned 21. And it's not that we're unhappy, but we are uncontented in our lives. And it's like, we do have great lives. That's another thing that I hate about social media, is like we see so many things that we should be doing and whatever. And I think I just hate being my 20s, guys. Like, is this every episode that I say this? But I if I just wish I had an assistant. Like, if I could have an assistant to do all the things that I know I need to do to set up myself for success, like get a credit card. How long has that been on my to-do list? Freaking pay my student debt. It's time, girl. The interest is building. You're going to be screwed soon if you don't do it, you know? And it's like I can only get like one thing at a time every 6 months, if even that. Whatever. But I think I need to start participating in my own life again, because that's the reason I think I'm just not as fulfilled as I used to be, because I'm becoming more of an NPC, and that's like a really big fear of mine. I think that's the biggest fear that I've had. That's like the real root of it. I can give it a bunch of different names, but being complacent in life and not even realizing it. It's like, I don't want to wake up one day when I'm 40 and be like, why am I living this way? Because I didn't choose this. This isn't what I wanted. Why didn't I just try a little harder on those extra days off? Why didn't I just take the extra steps to think about what I really wanted for myself and do those, instead of just keep doing the things that are keeping me, steady, but not fulfilled, But yeah, if you're being complacent in your own life, clock it before it's too late, because I think procrastination does not just apply to homework assignments, and that's something that I feel like I've been taught in school, it's like those are the examples that were given, but procrastination is slotted into every ounce of life. And that's another circle back to my boyfriend, guys. Is this just a boyfriend appreciation video? I haven't told anybody that I'm doing YouTube. I've kind of like dropped it a few times because I got a tripod. Did you guys notice? But I got one for Christmas, and my sister was like, oh my gosh, you can use that for your videos. And my mom was like, your videos? Because I just don't want to tell anybody. That's something with me, is like, until I'm good at something, I don't want anybody to know that I'm doing it because I'm afraid of failure and I don't want to be embarrassed. Because I used to be a cheerleader and I'd never try new skills in front of people. So I was never getting new skills unless I worked at the cheer gym. So I like had a key, but that was the only time that I actually tried. And then at practice, it just looked like I wasn't trying because I was afraid to fail in front of everybody, whatever. But now I still do the same thing. So I haven't told anybody that I have YouTube because I'm waiting until I have like a decent amount of followers. And that's even worse, honestly. But now they know. But what was I going to say? My boyfriend. Oh yeah, maybe this will be the video that I tell him to watch. Hey. But one thing about him is that he is also fearful of being complacent. And it's really great to have a partner, guys. I'm not encouraging you to get into a relationship, but at least have a friend. Like everyone needs, like, you don't need an assistant. You just need somebody by your side to also lift you up, to lift each other up, you know? Anyways, that's like my rant of the day, I guess, because it wasn't really necessary and it doesn't go with the theme of this episode, but whatever. I think I'm going to have my siblings on, guys, because it would be so fun. I know I always say things like that, but like I always make false promises to you guys and I'm sorry about that. But maybe this is the time. They're all kind of like me, but they're way funnier, so that's going to be it. I'm going to go to the mall and I'm going to make a return. I have no storage, so goodbye. I love you guys. Have a great week. I'll see you next week. Have a good New Year's Eve. That's my favorite holiday. Make sure to journal and make your New Year's resolutions. That's why. That's this year we're not going to be complacent. This year we're not going to procrastinate. We're going to get things done. We're going to like pay our bills, do our taxes. We're going to do adult things, make doctor's appointments, pay for them. And yeah, it's going to be great. I think this year we're going to be on top of it, you know? And hopefully not get burnt out. Okay. Okay. Okay, bye. Love you.